Live once again for another episode of Hard Money Monday. As you can tell, my setup is a little bit different this week. I'm coming at you from my typical work setup. So, no fancy background, but what I did want to do this week is take a little bit of a break from having scheduled guests on and just dive into comping. It's what I spend a lot of my time doing. And I got sent a couple of deals recently that I actually want to comp live. So one of these deals was sent to me Friday, and another was sent to me maybe Friday as well. And so I was going to underwrite them anyways, and I figured there would be some value to just doing that live. So in a moment, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go through these deals. And I'm just now realizing, I'm pretty sure one dude did not send me the address. It's like, yeah, man, maybe I can find you a buyer, but having the address would really help. All right. So while I go, of course, open to any questions, if you have deals that you'd like me to take a look at, drop them in the comments on Instagram. I probably won't see them if it's on Facebook or YouTube. And let's dive into it. Okay. So this should be posted live now. So the first deal that I'm looking at is a property in, oh, this is not the right address. This is actually a Port Richey property. It's like, that is definitely not the right address. Okay. So we're looking at a deal in Pasco. This is North Pasco. So you can see it's almost to Hudson, and that's kind of the last of Pasco County before you get into Spring Hill. All right. So starting off, I always just go right to county appraiser site. I'm on the county appraiser site literally every single day. If you aren't familiar with going to appraiser site, you need to get familiar. All of them are a little bit different. Some are great. Some are awesome. I actually like Pasco counties. Pinellas County is probably my favorite. So looking at this address, all right, we got it. And what are we looking for here? Well, we're looking for a few things. So number one, this right here, that's pretty important. FEMA code X. All right, that means we're not dealing with the flood zone. And honestly, I care more about FEMA 50% rule than flood insurance. But here's the other thing we're going to look at. Okay, so if we look at Street View, we're looking at this property and we're like, oh yeah, man, that's got stucco on it. It's probably block. And if you've ever done a frame reno, you know that's a lot different than doing something block. Well, when I go onto here, I'm going to see exterior wall 1, tile or wood frame stucco. So this is not a block house. We're dealing with something that's frame, which is really important to take note of. Okay, so we know it's frame 1981, right? And usually when I'm comping one of these, I'll have a window open and I'll prepare this for my borrower. I'll have a window open and I'll copy and paste this link for the subject property and start taking notes. Okay, 1981, wood frame. And I'm taking notes on this because I only really care about stuff that's similar. I don't want to compare frame to block. I don't want to compare 1981 to 1950, right? And so I'm going through looking at that. I'm also looking at living square foot. Usually Zillow is right, but it's not always right. And let's actually pull this up on Zillow as well. And Zillow is in fact correct. I've noticed they're usually right on Bed Bath as well. A lot of times you'll see 3.2 and it's actually 1.5. I don't really think that's like a huge deal for determining value. Obviously, an actual 3.2 is a lot more livable than a 3 1.5, meaning one of the bathrooms does not have either a full shower or bathtub. But I don't personally think it impacts value that much. All right. So we're talking about a 3 1.5, 966 square feet, 1981, and it is frame. Here's some of the other things that I'm going to take a careful look at that impact value, often overlooked. One, we do have a one-car garage. Having a garage really does make a big difference. For ARV, maybe not that much, but for days on market, it tends to make a big difference. And then I'm going to check street. So I'm not seeing double yellow lines, which is really good. That means it's a busy street, right? I'm going to check that every time. And then if I zoom out, I want to make sure that it's not commercial adjacent, right? It's not right by the Dollar Tree or right by, some fast food restaurant or tire shop. So I like that. It's actually in a neighborhood. It's not adjacent to any multifamily. It's actually on a corner lot, which, while that doesn't necessarily make a big difference for ARV, having a corner lot does help stuff sell faster. It's pretty nice. In certain counties, in particular Pinellas, corner lot can be really valuable because that can unlock ADU potential. Usually those are the best types of properties for ADU, is having the corner lot, because you get a whole nother street for parking. So outside of that, everything kind of checks the box on that front. Oh, look at Patricia joins. Welcome in. Welcome in. Millionaire. Yeah, not quite. So I like everything I'm seeing there. Now, when I actually go to comp, I think I actually looked at buying a deal right in this neighborhood one time for myself. Okay. So then when I go to comp, I really don't care compared to an appraiser who might care more about like it's 0.25 miles away, it's 0.5 miles away, it's 1 mile away radius. I don't want to look at anything crossing roads. So for instance, Griffin Park, which actually I know Griffin Park, I'm pretty sure that like is a really crappy area. Yeah, you can actually tell by the way the houses are laid out. This area sucks. I don't want to compare Griffin Park to over here, even though this is really close. Something over here in Holiday Hill Estates probably tells me more about the value of this property. All right, so I'm going to go in now. I'm actually going to comp. So one of the really annoying things about, ADU is accessory dwelling unit. You might see them referred to. So I'm going in and checking the comments from time to time. You might see it referred to as a DADU. That's an especially popular term for like Washington State. But basically, it's adding another building, essentially another separate living space onto a single family usually. So you turn a single family into effectively a 2-unit, but it's not really a duplex. And there is a pretty big difference, both in appraised value and how you can sell a property if it's actually detached, right? Which would be like a DADU. It's detached from the property versus something that's still attached to the property, which would be more of your true mother-in-law suite, right? Like it's all in the same area, same access point, but you could separate it out versus it's like a converted detached garage. It really is significantly different. All right. So one of the annoying things about Tampa Bay that is not true of pretty much any other market that I comp in Florida and even other states is you can't get pictures from Zillow most of the time for sold comps, which is very frustrating. So I like to use Zillow, or sometime homes.com you can get pictures from, and I like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Zillow first to find my comps, and then I'm going to go to realtor.com. So I don't want to cross any major roads. And then if I'm looking at this visually, this to me kind of seems to be like a lot of these neighborhoods end. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw here. Go all the way up here. I don't want to pull from Griffin Park. And boom. Now I've got my range. Do you know, guys, that look at ADUs when pricing a DSCR loan? What if there's a single family house with 2 ADUs? Yeah, I'm not the master of DSCR loans, but my understanding is that it's going to get treated like it's multifamily. So a lot of times if it's multifamily, the pricing goes up a little bit, like you pay a little bit more in points to get the same interest rate. And then like for us, I could do 80% max single family if it's rate and term, right? You're not pulling cash out. But as soon as it's multifamily, boom, it drops to 75%. But generally speaking, if you've got like permitted on county record more than one living space, you can count that as part of your rental income. So of course, you're almost always going to have a way stronger cash flow if you've got more than one unit in a building like that. So now I've got my range, right? And you can tell I got a bunch of crap going on here. So me personally, if I've got a lot of options, which I suspect I will in a neighborhood like this, I'm going to go accepting backup offers pending and under contract. Unfortunately, on Zillow, I can't only look at stuff that's pending. I don't really care about stuff that's listed because most sellers are just complete idiots and frankly are wasting people's time with unrealistic prices. So it's a little bit of a distraction, but I'll show you how to navigate that. Okay. So here's what I want to filter by: square foot. All right. On Zillow, you've kind of got these ranges, right? And so if I'm looking at the appraiser site and it's 966, I'm like, okay, 750 to 1250 should be a pretty good range. And then for year build, some people are really particular about, hey, be within 10 years plus or minus adjustments. I personally find that it doesn't really matter that much. It matters a lot more the newer something is. So for instance, a 2010 build compared to a 2020 build is a lot different than a 1950 build compared to 1960. Now, if we're talking about something that's 1980, I'm probably going to be like, all right, I'll look at anything from 1960 to say like 1995. I don't want to see 2000s builds. And lot size, I'm not really worried about it. This is all subdivisions. If you're dealing with acreage, it's a pretty good thing to filter. But that's really it: square foot, year build. And then I'm going to be looking in the descriptions to see if something is frame or block. And sometimes you can just tell. So I'm going to ignore everything that's for sale, and I'm going to look at some pendings. Now, what I don't care about is stuff that's not renovated, right? Unless I want an as-is comp. I will say too, in Florida, like you're not going to see a lot of pool homes in Pasco County. It's just a lower price point. And in this neighborhood, you probably won't see any. But pool versus non-pool, I prefer to not even try to make adjustments. I just really don't even want to compare those. So you always want to look for pools, and I can give you the secret for how to filter those out so you can comp really quickly. I actually am seeing condos too. So I only want to see houses. And that actually cleared out a lot of what quite frankly is just noise. Okay, this is actually 2.2, probably a 2, 1.5. Pending, I already have this one up. So 2.1. And what I want to do is eliminate a bunch of these. Like I don't want to get distracted with a bunch of this. And I can pretty much tell pretty quickly if something is an actual renovated comp or not. So, I mean, looking at this, all right, unrenovated kitchen. I mean, unless everything else is completely unrenovated, I don't care. And keep in mind, renovated in Pasco is a lot different than renovated in, Hyde Park, right? So you look at something like this. Yeah, also original kitchen. I'm going to try not to use that. This has a detached garage. It looks like this actually might be one of those houses that is just attached. Yeah, this, I mean, mobile home looking kitchen. I don't know. I think this is actually attached too. Like you can see these houses are attached, which is completely different from our property type. So I don't really want to look at that. Look at this. All right. Kitchen is maybe somewhat renovated. Pretty ugly. I pretty much know there's not going to be any pools here, but easy thing to check to make this really quick is just Control F. If you don't see pool, cool. All right. This I'm liking more. It looks like there have been some renovations. also horrible listing pictures. But we have upgraded appliances. This is probably, look at that. That is a goofy countertop. This is probably closer to actual ARV. I mean, you're not going to command nicer renovation finishes than this, really. It's not actually renovated, but it's well kept and lived in. It does have a garage. So I'm probably going to get rid of these. I do like this one. This one is solid. Look at that. Open concept kitchen. Obviously, there's old appliances. A real goofy island. But for Pasco, I like this. You can tell too whenever there's pictures like this, it's part of an association. There actually are some 55 plus associations around here. So boom, here we go. 55 plus community. Interesting. Actually, I remember it. This whole thing is 55 plus. And I have definitely looked at deals over here. Okay. This, I believe, is not part of that 55 plus association, which is something to watch out for in Pasco. That actually does make a really big difference because obviously your buyer pool is a lot bigger. You're going to have less HOA restrictions, generally more desirable. So I might adjust my map and try not to look at any deals in the HOA. And I actually want to look and see where this is, see if they mention anything about 55 plus. So once again, I can just control F. And I don't see anything in the listing description about 55 plus. And it says HOA free. So this right now is my best pending comp. And then I want to go and look at sold. So I'm actually going to adjust my boundary because this is all 55 plus. And I just want to see what's right in this little pocket. Because it really is HOA versus non-HOA in this particular situation is a needle mover. Okay, so now we're going to look at stuff that's sold. And you're going to get a ton of stuff that pops up. I want to start with 90 days, see what was sold recently, especially if you can get something sold post hurricane. Not as important in flood zone X like we are this instance, but can be pretty important. Okay, so this is a really little house. None of these scream to me that they're renovated, and this one is attached. So I don't even really want to look at this. This is part of like, yeah, these are these weird houses. You actually see these from time to time. It's like a duplex, but they're split down the center. And I'm going to try not to look at that because this is clearly its own little neighborhood. It's pretty different. And honestly, I don't really think that's a very desirable property type. All right. So I've got Bizarre and I've got Zane. So I'm going to look at these. And what I'm going to do is going to pull up a realtor tab. And let's just make sure, get an idea. For sold data entry purposes only. Okay. That means that this is just an as-is comp. Probably sold off market. I don't know. They wanted to add it as a comp, I guess. I'm going to look it up on a realtor just to see if there's pictures, but this strikes me as unrenovated. Okay, they actually do have pictures from March. Yeah, this is just totally grandma's house. Galley kitchen. Needs a full reno. Realtor does kind of spam you with ads. And don't use new silver. No, I'm just playing. They do kind of spam you with ads, so it's a little bit slow. So this one I'm going to eliminate. I don't really like as a comp. I have the feeling that this isn't renovated either. But we'll take a look at pictures real quick. And if I don't like anything, then I'm going to go look at 6-month-old comps. So 13 pictures pretty much tells me for sure it's not renovated. But if it's selling as is for 201, yeah, I mean, at least it's clean. But when I see something like this, I'm like, all right, well, if this sold for 201, we're probably looking at like 250 ARV, maybe a little bit higher for this neighborhood. But you don't ever really want to over renovate, especially in Pasco. That is a trap. You can over renovate. I guess it wouldn't be over renovate. You can renovate properties a lot in certain neighborhoods. This would not be the area for it. Okay, so basically, I don't like any of our comps from 90 days. So I'm going to zoom out and say, what do we see for the last 6 months? And so these 3 most recent sold. We'd be like, all right, 3-1, 180. I pretty much know that that's not renovated from price alone. Okay, this I like. That's right. Yeah, I see a lot of people miss comp, honestly. I have to tell people to get out of deals more often than I'd like to admit. All right, I like this so far. Similar in size, clearly its own house. It does have a 2-car garage. It looks like it's not in the 55 plus either. So this right now I like as a comp. It's not that old either. This is clearly like that's in this little pocket again. I don't want to look at that. Same thing there. Same thing here. These are all these like split duplex houses. Okay, this right in that same area, not that old, from July, similar size. I like this. This actually looks a lot like that other house. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at these. These are giving me similar data points, and they're a little bit, I mean, this is once again in this pocket, so I'm ignoring it. I might look at this one too. And so what I'm going to do, let's look at the listing description. Cozy means unrenovated. It looks like it's definitely can pass a 4 point though. So let's take a look and see if this is Pasco County style renovated. And actually, this will be the last one I look at because I do want to underwrite this really quick as well before I run out of time. So I'm pulling this up. Oh, pool home. Okay. I no longer care. Yeah, unrenovated pool home, not a comp. I do want to find one more solid comp so I can at least go off. I actually do want to know potentially helping move this deal. So I do want to know what it's actually worth. So let's just see. Move in ready, no HOA, no flood. Okay, looks like this is at least partially renovated. It's on a corner lot too. Does have a 1-car garage. Probably it's block. Let's actually look. So if you go, this isn't always correct, but when I'm looking at comps, it's usually enough. So materials, block stucco. Okay, this is a block home. Our subject is frame. And for Pasco County, this is pretty much a renovated house. You could do a little bit more, but this is probably pretty close to ARV. And it is block, so that's actually nice. Obviously, bathroom is not fully remodeled. Maybe there's a little bit more to be desired on ARV. But I like this one. I'm going to move it here. Where's my other pending? Yeah. So I'm going to move these two over here. I like these. And we're going to stick with these two for now. Especially I'm getting similar price points on this. Let's see if this is renovated. 55 plus. Get rid of it. Looking for comps in rural areas. So general philosophy, looking for comps in rural areas, you don't have to be as tight on like the whole street rules, right? So once again, if I go back to like, I feel like appraisers really care about radius. Like, hey, how many miles is it? But if you're talking rural, same thing applies. Don't cross any major roads. Well, major roads are going to be a lot further apart. So just really take your box and zoom it way out and then look that way. And that's going to give you a lot of helpful insight and then give you more deals to look at. Generally speaking, though, rural, it's harder to find comps. And then also, if you're going to renovate rural, you have to consider the fact that Home Depot is probably a long ways away from the house. So it's always going to be more expensive than fixing something up in the city for the most part, right? So I'm just going to say these are my three comps I'm looking at. Now, this is a little bit bigger block, sold for $250. This is a little bit bigger. This also looks like it's block. And it's sold, or it's pending at $249. And if I look, I'm like, all right, 101 days on Zillow, 64 views, 1 save. There's no way that this thing sells for $249. So this probably actually sells for like $230. Pending is a lot different than sold. And then I look at this and I'm like, okay, almost the exact same size, $240. Okay. So let's see if I can find. Oh, I forget. This is a different computer. We're going to do back of napkin math then. Okay, so I'm looking at this. I'm like, all right, 240K. How do I determine my offer on this? All right, so let's just pull up a calculator. Okay, so my suggestion, whenever you're looking at deals, just ignore whatever the wholesaler is saying for price. The price is negotiable, and even if you offer less than what they have it for, if you're their best offer, they will try to renegotiate it with the seller, right? So if it fits your buy box, you offer on it. Simple rule of thumb. Get as many offers as you can, make it at numbers that you like. So I'm just going to run with this. Let's just say 240K ARV. All right. Now, what comes into all of the costs on this? Well, title fees going to be about $6,000. Okay. What else? Well, if you're using a hard money lender, then you're going to be looking at points, probably on something like this around $3,000 in points, and processing fees. So let's subtract another $5,000 off. Okay. So this is where our offer stands right now. Now, what else is going into this? Well, really easy rule of thumb on holding costs. So you have a number of holding costs. You have property taxes. You have, insurance is actually paid up front. So let's do $2,000 for insurance paid up front for your builder's risk general liability. That's another closing cost. So holding costs, I'm looking at interest payments. I'm looking at property taxes, which you'll pay at the backside closing. I'm looking at utilities, cutting the lawn, things like that, paying for trash. So really easy rule of thumb, 12% interest only is 1% of the loan amount a month. So just for really easy sake here, I'm going to say $2,000 in holding costs. Project like this, let's just say that it takes you 6 months. Pretty fair estimate. Hopefully you're out of it sooner than that if you know what's going on and you got good systems. So I'm going to subtract 2,000 times 6, which is 12,000. All right. Then reno. So my friend tells me on this one, he said, needs floors, bathroom, kitchen, and paint. The roof is 2 years old. There's a new water heater and new HVAC. So I'm going to assume we need to do electric. Call that $2,000. If you have to rewire, probably like $4,000 or $5,000. But just for the I don't know what you want to call it, the box, probably $2,000. And then if I'm going to do cosmetic reno for something that's about 1,000 square feet, I don't have to do any other mechanicals, just straight up cosmetic. I'd probably budget for Pasco, let's just do $40 per square foot. Yeah, about 38 grand. And that's maybe a little bit high because you don't need nice finishes at all. So I might do 35. And then I'm going to subtract, just say another 5,000 contingencies. And then I want to make, on a deal like this, probably want to make 40, I would say. Net profit. So you subtract that. Boom. That leaves me with an offer price of 133. And let's see, did I factor everything in? Front side closing costs. We got hard money fees. We got insurance costs. We got title fees. We have holding costs included. We have our reno budget included. We have our profit included. On the backside too, you're also going to have to list it. So let's just say 8 grand in commission. And I'm getting an offer price on this. Okay, I'm seeing the question from Abide Property Group, new panel or new meter. I'm thinking just a new interior panel, like upgrading some of the breakers. That's usually what you need to do. So I'm getting an offer price at 125. And let's see what this deal is selling for. Asking 165. Unless I'm off on my comps, I don't like the deal. That's my breakdown of it. So I would need to go through this with more of a fine tooth comb, look at the pictures, etc. But that's typically how I look at a deal. And by the way, I would still offer 125. If this is the type of deal I was looking for, I would 100% make the offer. Even if I'm like, whoa, I'm 40K off on price. Dude, if the seller needs to sell and you're the best offer, yeah. And if you make an offer with confidence and the wholesaler is like, all right, this person's going to figure it out if I can get a price reduction, fantastic. So I would 100%, at least like high level numbers. I'm like, yeah, I would offer 125 on this with confidence. And there you have it. That's kind of a breakdown of what I do every single day with comp and deals, figuring out where it makes sense for somebody to offer on. I do have a flipping calculator. You're welcome to ask me for. And also, anytime you have questions about how to comp in Florida, I'm here for it. So thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Hard Money Monday, and I'll catch you guys soon.